So just,
Yeah,
I was wondering.
absolutely. You're my six.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our March 10th, 2026 Board of County Commissioners 9 a.m. briefing meeting. Let the record reflect that all 5 commissioners are present. And we have our state lobbyist, Mike Burgess, like you're here. Like I heard it was an all-night session last night so far.
It is, Commissioner, and in case any of you ever wanted to run for the state house, know that you might be involved in what is now a 15-hour floor debate, and there's probably 8 more hours left, I would imagine. You're speaking of the income tax bill,
Yes.
which is being debated on the House floor right now. I've never seen something go this long. No, you might remember a couple of years ago, there were a number of bills that were revenue tax increases that went till, 5 in the morning. But this is going on, probably is going to end up being, it could end up being close to 20 hours by the time they're done. I guess if you got to noon, it'd be close to 20 or 19. So, but I would anticipate that. I think there's about 19, 20 more amendments to go. I think there was like close to 60 in general. And then that doesn't include floor speeches. And there are also a number of the amendments are being orally roll called, which is a little bit rare in the House. The Senate is always oral roll call, unless it's just purely by voice vote. But an oral roll call takes 6 minutes if you just call the names, call 98 names. So there you go. So maybe, if you get a chance, probably thank your colleagues, your other electeds that are serving over here. Regardless of what the issue is, that's a tough end to a session, and there's still things that need to be done. And so from a timing standpoint, it's probably throwing off other issues that are kind of sitting out there, some of which we're waiting on. So yeah, we adjourned Thursday. The indications are that they should finish on time. I don't know if this long floor debate throws a kink into that, but I haven't heard any plans that there needs to be a special session. The word is that there were agreements on budgets reached over the weekend. We should see those tomorrow, is what we've been told. And we'll look in those budgets for different projects and different items. On the transportation side, Ron had received some communication from, I think it was Senator Holy's office, about the Thorpe Road project being included in the Senate's version of the budget. And so that's just one of the things to acknowledge. So that's something we'll want to look at in the final budget. And I can print, or the state has a good website that I can do project lists by district or by county. So I'll do that for you, but won't have that until next week. Similar in the operating and similar in the capital. So just the notes there that by next week we'll have comparisons of what the legislature supported and has been passed along to the governor.
Okay,
Yes.
my Commissioner Friendship raised his hand early on, so I just want to get.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Commissioner.
Yeah, so last week, Wasac, we've been neutral on the millionaire tax until last week with the sales tax exemptions that have now been added to this bill. The estimated impact for counties and lost revenue is between $150 and $200 million a year in lost revenue. And so we took a position Thursday of being opposed, and literally everybody in LSC went and attacked the Hill and talked to our legislators about the negative impact of the bill for cities and counties. Don't know exactly. I'm told that the impact for cities was double what it was for the counties, which would mean it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $300 to $500 million in negative sales tax growth. So I know that came as a surprise to many members in the legislature. And so, but I just want to let you know that Wasac, as of Thursday evening, taking a position of opposed to the bill because of its economic impact on counties. We're continuing to work with legislators to see if we can get some relief, but we were not overly optimistic on Thursday.
Yes, Commissioner. So I was going to add some more about the income tax, and thank you for bringing that up. You'll remember when the bill was first introduced, there was a fund to fund public defense services. That subsequently was removed from the bill over on the House side. So that held in the Senate, and then moved over to the House. I think the original amount was 5% of the revenue in the Senate, was bumped up to 7% of the revenue, goes over the House. It was removed, but the intention now in the House, and this is in the bill that's being debated on the floor right now, it's a piece of it, is it does create a local government mitigation fund or mitigation account, but that money would need to be appropriated in the operating budget. So once we see the budget, we'll see if there is some offset money, because Commissioner French is correct that the income tax bill contains a number of provisions that repeal sales taxes that were passed last session. Some of that could be on security services, live presentations, continuing education for different professions are now subject to the sales tax. So that's where the reduction comes in. It's you're receiving that revenue now, and that's something we mentioned last year when the legislature passed those tax bills, that there would be a local government impact to that. There would be a net positive, at least in terms of the sales tax collections. But there, like I said, there are a number of provisions in the bill to repeal that, probably because there were some unintended consequences. Folks, I don't think necessarily thought they were, when I say folks, legislators didn't think they were voting to increase taxes on some of those things. But at the end of the day, yes, it is a hit to local government. But the response, at least in the House, is to create this local government mitigation fund. That's what I'm calling it. I don't think that's the official name. That at the end of the day, that's what it is. So we'll have to see what that says or what it is in the operating budget when we see what's released to the public tomorrow. So yeah, Commissioner French is absolutely right about the reduction, and both AWC and the Association of Counties have gone to oppose for those reasons, because at the end of the day, when the public defense came out, it actually will cost local governments money. The passage of the bill will. Any other questions on that? Transitioning to the bill list we have, nothing new here. I think that the biggest one, all of these bills are moving to the governor or need to be concurred upon, meaning if there was a Senate bill that went over the House amended the bill, it has to go back to the Senate for concurrence. But those things are all happening. I think the one to wait on most is the waste to energy facility. It needs House concurrence, but I've been given no indication that it won't receive that. It's just, when you're doing a floor debate on one bill that can take, 24 hours, there's only so many hours in the day. So they have a number of bills they will need to concur upon. And that hasn't happened on the waste to energy bill yet. But again, no indication that it won't. But just one thing to wait on. The others have, like I said, have either been delivered to the governor or also waiting on concurrence. And one issue, Commissioner Waldorf, you've brought up a few times on the cigarette and tobacco tax bill. There was the component of that bill that dealt with the pots of money that were, I don't know, disturbed or some unintended consequences that have resulted in a loss of funds to public health. That bill did not move from committee. It was supposed to move Saturday. It did not move. But I've been told by the folks that are working that there is an intention for the legislature to deal with those pots of money, and there's an acknowledgement of that. But it's kind of caught up in what happens with that cigarette / tobacco, other tobacco products bill. So just flagging that for you. If you might have already heard, I know you've been following that issue closely, so you may have already heard that, but just wanted to throw that into the mix for you. So
Is that the one on the Senate side?
no, it's a Senate bill that was over in House Finance.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So, so what's the pathway then at this point?
Well, the legislature, the indication that I've been told is that bill is still in play, though it did not come out of the Finance Committee. It's still in play because it does have budget implications, so that's going to have to sort itself out. There is a play, or there's an acknowledgement that there should be one. I don't know what it is yet. I should have jumped back to on the bill list, 2515. That was the data center bill that died over in the Senate, but I left that on the list because there's also another bill out there that repeals the sales tax exemption for, I would just say upgrades to data centers. So when they're doing, technology upgrades and different things like that, there was a sales tax incentive on those services and materials that's being removed in this bill, but there is a floor amendment, and so it's a separate bill. It's not 2515. That bill, it would repeal those sales tax incentives. That bill passed the Finance Committee Friday morning. It is sitting in House Rules, or has been moved to the House floor calendar, and it does have an amendment to it waiting to be acted upon by Representative Voles. It's posted on the system publicly. I noticed it this morning. That would do the data center tax break for new construction that was in 2515 that was amended in. So remember, that was originally an Ormsby bill. The Ormsby bill was amended into 2515, but it's died in the Senate. But this other tax bill is a place where conceivably, again, the original Ormsby bill could be amended into that bill. So that's still hanging out there as well. So kind of big moving pieces left. There's that issue with the data centers. There's the tobacco tax issue. Need to wait and see if when the waste and energy bill is concurred upon, and then when the budgets are out, I will get you lists. We can go through those next week of what projects and what different things were funded. Commissioner Kearns, one that was hanging out, you had mentioned, we had asked about the flock bill, the license bill. That bill did pass with pretty significant amendments. I don't know specifically how your department would feel about that, but I do know that the bill moved in a direction that was positive from what I had first heard about it. So that's what I have, Commissioner. So mostly just update stuff. And like I said, once we get some clarity by next week, I'll have a lot better information in terms of where different funding levels were for different projects and those types of things.
Any questions for Mike? No, just good luck.
Okay. I certainly didn't stay up all night, but I'm going to go over and check it out here in a few minutes. So,
Okay.
pretty
Well,
historic, actually, what's happening.
Yeah, no, it's historic on many levels.
Yeah.
So, okay, well,
Okay.
thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
and We'll be in touch.
I'll talk to you next week. Thanks. Bye.
Gonna take us to Kevin Ritchie, under sheriff.
Good morning. I just have a small grant, or request to accept a small grant from the Washington, Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs. It's $2,300 for the purchase of a radar, and it's passed down from the Washington Traffic Safety Commission for the high visibility enforcement grant. So we're just gonna use it to buy one moving radar. That's it. No match. Yeah, there's some great reporting requirements for enforcement.
There's just one of those
Yep.
portable things.
Yeah, it goes in the car and it measures radar as they're driving. Or measures speed as they're driving.
Question? Again, there you go.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're out.
I'll sit here for the next one. Just
Oh, yeah. Morning, Tony.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Good.
Is Chris joining you?
He told me 9:20, so I think he thinks 9:20.
thought I would talk a lot longer.
Never do.
No. 4 minutes.
Is it okay if we go ahead and
Yeah,
get
absolutely.
started? Okay, go ahead.
So we have done a cost study for body cam redaction fees, and we are ready to move forward with that. So that we can implement fees for recouping some of the cost that the sheriff's office incurs in providing body worn camera.
So what does that look like?
So we had the sheriff's office public disclosure unit do some stopwatch trials to estimate the amount of time on average it takes to redact different types of body cam redactions. And then we did a wage analysis for those staff members and came down to 78 cents per minute to redact body camera footage.
And so, you know how it works in some other departments. So what, I've not in detail read this, so. So what would we be charging?
Yeah, so then basically we would be allowed to charge 78 cents per minute for redaction of body camera video. Except in certain cases that are laid out in the Public Records Act. So if the requester is depicted in the video, then we wouldn't charge them. But if they are a third-party unaffiliated requester, which we do have a lot of requesters who run monetized YouTube channels, and they make very voluminous requests for body camera footage. And because that has really slowed down our public disclosure process in the sheriff's office, we looked at this possibility of charging in order to recoup some of that time.
Good morning.
Sorry, we still
Not at all.
got you.
Not at all.
We're just ahead of schedule, so.
Yeah.
So on average, some of these people that request, what would they be charged?
It's gonna depend on the body cam, the length of the body cam, and really what it is it's charging for the time that it takes to actually, for staff to apply the redactions to the video. So blacking out people's faces and or muting sound potentially, depending on who is in there. You know, the types of redactions they're doing are largely, victims, specifically, juveniles, DV offenses. Frequently we can redact victim identity, things like that. Any medical kind of procedures or medical issues that take place on body cam, that's redacted as well. They're all enumerated statutory redactions that are being made. So it's all the same work that we are doing anyway. The statute simply allows us to recoup for it. It has been implemented by certainly, I would say, the majority of the agencies of the sheriff's size statewide. And I think looking at the fees from other agencies across the state, we are kind of right on par with the amounts that we're charging, or that we have proposed to charge in the cost study. And so at this point, it's fairly standard practice, and we can really only charge for what we are actually doing. So it's not a money-making endeavor. It really is just recouping some of the costs that we are already required to expend on this.
No, I think, that's, you've done the cost study, so figured out what it would cost, so. I think I have.
Is there any restriction? So what can't we charge for? Can you just clarify that? I think you've been touched on it, but is there guidance or CW on that?
There is, and I believe there's also some pending legislation that may modify that, though I don't think we're gonna have to modify the way we do this, but under, it's 4256-240, sub 14, I believe. And then under 14, I think it is sub E that states the people who do not have to pay to receive body cam, and effectively it's the people who are actually involved in the incident that is being captured on body cam, right? So if you are a victim or a witness and you are part of that incident and you are on that body cam, you can request a copy and will not be charged for it. So it really is, it's going to be outside requesters have to pay some of the costs.
And is there any limitations on what the charge can be? What's a reasonable charge? What's not? Is there any guidance on that?
Yeah, we're actually only charging for the staff time. The statute actually allows you to charge even for the cost of the redaction technology. But we're not doing that. We're only charging for the staff time for our sheriff's public disclosure specialists who do that work. So our fees are not, even the maximalist fees that they could be.
So you said that other jurisdictions have adopted these fees.
Yeah, fairly widely. I think these fees have actually been available since, I want to say 2022 or 2018 or 2022 was when that went into effect. And I know there's, I believe the sheriff's office started widely implementing body cams around 2020. And so we are kind of, you know, as the public records requests for body cam video has increased and has become a significant, I mean, quite frankly, burden on public records staff, this makes more and more sense to hopefully help recoup some of that costs. Yeah, you know, in the future, hopefully that can help bolster that department if the requests keep coming in at the rate that they are. So that we can keep up with them.
So what would be an example then? So somebody says, I want this video from this, or these 10 videos from this officer from this day. If there is, so there wouldn't be any cost if there's no redactions.
That's right.
But if there's redactions, then they'd be paying this 78 cents per minute to redact. So I mean, what's the approximate cost then if there was like 5 redactions in a video?
Yeah, so we estimated during our stopwatch trials that it takes about 5 minutes to do 1 minute of raw footage for targeted
Okay.
redaction with no audio. So if you needed to redact the face of one person and they're in the video for about 5 minutes, that would be 25 minutes of redaction time. So they would pay, I'm not good at mental math, but they would pay 78 cents a minute for 25 minutes worth of work. But of course, any person, as with all public records requests, has the right to inspect records free of charge. So any person, even if they're not involved in the video, could request to make an appointment to come to the sheriff's office and have a laptop set up where they can watch the video. The charges come when you have to make copies of the video for people.
Okay.
And for a long time, we resisted that for the same reason as we wanted those videos to be available to people. But what's happened is we've become sort of the victim of a cottage industry of national YouTube channels that have found that we don't charge for video. So they request those videos so that they can put them on YouTube. And those people are not going to come and they're not even local to us. So they're not going to come and watch the video.
Is there any data in terms to kind of demonstrate how the number of requests has increased over time?
Yeah.
Does that exist?
Yeah, absolutely. We have our JLARC report that we submit to the state legislature on public records metrics, and I can pull that and send you a copy. Yeah.
So if someone comes in person to inspect them, you know, on campus here, it's unredacted?
No, it's still be redacted.
Oh, so, okay, so you still have to perform the redaction, you just can't bill that redaction to
Right,
someone,
yeah.
okay,
Right.
okay.
So it's the requesters who want a copy of it for themselves.
That's the only way you recoup that cost, is if you
Yeah.
want, okay.
And has there been a discussion about where those revenues how those would be handled? Does it stay in the sheriff's budget? Is it public records? Where does that money go? Budget office.
Well, usually revenue just goes to general fund, but then we keep track of it in the budget to show how much revenue has come in this case for public records. So you see the budget, remember there would be the revenue line, so you see how much revenue is coming in against the expense. So it offset their budget.
Public records office.
Or the sheriff, you know, whichever.
Well, because some of
Whatever is
it,
happening.
some of it will also come in for the prosecutor's office. The prosecutor does body cam redaction also and provides those under public records. It's not as voluminous as the sheriff's office, but some of it would come in from the prosecutor's office as well.
Whichever office is doing it is where it would get reported.
Is there any estimate as to how much revenue would be raised, assuming the same volume of requests?
I have not done any sort of analysis of that, because frankly, we don't believe that a lot of those national YouTube channels will pay. They'll probably stop making those requests if they have to pay. I don't know.
Or maybe at least reduce them to the, they of course want the videos that are the most salacious and are generating most views. So that's what they are fishing for.
So how do you collect the fees? Is there a lot of infrastructure needed to collect the fees? I mean, is it?
Yeah, so we already have an online payment vendor contract through Point and Pay that integrates with our GovQA software. So people can pay online just using a credit or debit card. They can also mail a check or money order. They could come down and pay with a credit card in person at the sheriff's office. They have the ability to take that money already, also through a Point and Pay contract.
One of those where it just takes a lot of time. And we knew when we got the body cams that it would take some time to figure all this out, but.
Yeah.
I want to make sure it's transparent and everything for everybody, but it's also not to be abused and then people are trying to use it. Charge them for the time it's taking. Other questions? Thank you. That's gonna take us to see Leanne over there in the corner. Morning. Good morning.
Morning, Commissioners, Leanne's gonna brief you a little bit here on our CTR agreements.
Yeah, so here to review, good morning, everyone. On the 6 intergovernmental agreements for implementing the Community Trip Reduction Program regionally for the jurisdictions that are affected by the CTR law. WSDOT does allocate funding for the program, and that was approved for July 1st of 2025 through June of 2027, end of June 2027. So these interlocal agreements go with that. That funding was approved and signed on November 5th of 2025. So these are coming after that with the agreements with Airway Heights, the agreement for 20,751. The numbers are based, or the dollar amount is based on how many work sites they have within each jurisdiction as well. So Cheney has 2 work sites for 13,834, Liberty Lake with 8 work sites with 55,336, Medical Lake with 3 work sites for 20,751, City of Spokane with 53 work sites, 306,601, and Spokane Valley with 17 work sites with 117,589. So the agreements were sent over to the attorney just to get them approved, and then they've all been approved and signed by each of the jurisdictions.
Any questions? Pretty standard.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Time, so, yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Just to follow up to Tony and Chris, you will see that subject matter on this afternoon's agenda. You're not passing it, it's just the posting of the required public hearing for this change. So you see on the agenda, just know we're posting the public hearing, and actually passing that same day.
Then what can we move in now?
Okay, so that'll be
It's just the top of the agenda right here.
3.
Under Sheriff Lee, we're ahead of schedule, so.
We can suit. Pleased to be here.
Yes, well, thank you. We're ready to have a schedule, so we're just gonna go.
Great, we will dive in. We have a couple of really significant items that we're pleased to do. We've been working on these. A lot of work has gone into these items today, and the first one is an updated agreement with the Spokane Valley Junior Soccer Association. Who they do business as Spokane Rapids. And we're really pleased to bring this to you. This provides for all of the new fields and changes. And we've been working very, very closely with the association, and this agreement will replace the existing one. And I don't want to take all the fun away, so Jonathan will jump in and I'll touch back on one of the slides.
Save me some fun. Yeah, so this is a new agreement. Previous agreement that we have, the agreement we have right now was in place since 1996. Year term, that was extended to 2031, but we felt with the new facility upgrades and the new maintenance responsibilities, it would be better just to start with a new agreement. So that's what we've done here. This agreement will supersede all the other amendments that our current agreement is now. So one of the things that we are changing in this is the definition of what the expanded premises is. The Soccer Association has the use of the expanded premises, so we are redefining expanded premises to include the new facility upgrades, which means the synthetic turf fields and the parking facilities and any of the other surrounding upgrades. The agreement term will be effective from January 1st of this year through December 31st. So same termination date as our existing the the Soccer Association and Parks Department have always considered replacement of the synthetic turf fields as a reality since this has been part of the conversation. And so the part of this agreement is the Soccer Association agreeing to set aside 50% of their yearly profits, or $15,000 into a Doofy fund. And maybe Doug, you can talk about Doofy fund.
Yeah, we've been able to coordinate with the budget office and the auditors to come up with the Doofy fund, and they have been very, very helpful, and felt that that would be the appropriate fund to use for this purpose. And looking ahead, it was important to the Soccer Association to contribute, to look ahead. With a 10-year lifespan, we know that we're looking ahead already to seeking grant funds. There are grant funds out there that can help with the replacement of synthetic turf fields, and having a contribution from a third-party nonprofit will be incredibly helpful in leveraging additional points when we go through that competitive process. So we're pleased this is a new component. While much of the agreement looks the same, this is a new component. It's something that actually was identified back in 2012, envisioning these fields someday. So we're bringing it to a reality here with this update.
And yeah, this contribution was part of a lot of back and forth conversation, getting it to where everybody was happy with it. So we put into the agreement that the Soccer Association and County Parks will revisit this after 3 years and see how it's going, and maybe we need to make some adjustments at that time, but we just put that in there as a just kind of a placeholder for the next 3 years. Next slide, please. So with all the improvements, there are added added maintenance responsibilities, as you can imagine. These maintenance responsibilities are alongside our existing responsibilities for maintenance. So I think one of the great things about this this agreement is the work that Doug and Kirk Chambers have done with the association and figuring out how all that is how the new management of the new facilities is going to be taken and accomplished along with the existing responsibilities. All this is being done within the adopted 2026 budget, which is consistent with our prior years funding of the facility. Also want to acknowledge that, you know, $313,000, which is what our contribution is to maintenance of the facility, that is expected to adjust over time with increase in labor costs and material costs. Next slide. Like Doug said, most of this agreement, a lot of this agreement is very similar to our current agreement. However, here is a couple of highlights as to what is changing. Back during the pandemic, the association was not able to schedule anything and didn't bring any revenue in. So at that time, they were in charge of paying for all irrigation costs. Without revenue, they weren't able to do that. So the county took that over. And now that they are back on their feet again, we are giving that responsibility back to the association to pay for the irrigation costs. We are also shifting what was county responsibility for mowing softball and baseball fields over to the association. They program those fields. There's specific things that they want to happen with the mowing those fields, so we're giving that over to them. Since this is such a big investment, the county has maintained most of all the maintenance of the new synthetic turf fields. And yeah, and so we are trying to, we're maintaining those. That's more of a responsibility for us. So we're moving some of these other responsibilities over to the association. And one of those other responsibilities includes the garbage removal during the program season in the winter months. We previously had just closed facility. Now that they can be programmed year round, the soccer association will be responsible for collecting and disposing of all garbage on site. Other than that, there are some small adjustments we've made, but these are the main adjustments. And really what we're looking for is for your review of the agreement and to allow us to move forward and execute this agreement in a legislative session next week.
Yeah, just say we've been able to work with them. We have a really good relationship to figure out where each other's strengths are. And it just seemed very logical with the new and specialized equipment related to maintaining the synthetic turf that we would take that on. And then again, we're staying with that same investment on our side. The association is taking on additional expense, but they are also anticipating additional revenues related to field rental. And the illuminated fields will allow use year round. And so again, we're work together and we feel like this will set us up for success and maximize the use of the facility going forward.
Any questions?
It looks well. I think we'll have this on your agenda, legislative agenda a week from today for your consideration. And yeah, again, we're really, really pleased. Really great working with the association, and I think both parties are very pleased with the agreement and moving forward. Okay. Jonathan, and we'll shift into our park code adjustments. This is another one that we have been working on for some time, and I'll start this one off. Presentation. Thank you, Rod. Go ahead and move to the and the code adjustments are focused around establishing definitions within our park code to recognize the existence, if you will, of items such as bicycles, electric motorcycles, and power wheelchairs. And the code as it currently exists, electric bikes did not exist back when it was created. And they, as I'm sure you know, are very, very common and popular, almost synonymous with regular bicycles. And we actually started back in 2018. We did a rather in-depth public process at that time to obtain input from the community on what would be a good fit within our park system. We ended up putting efforts on hold. At that time, there was concern that we would be limited only to a misdemeanor infraction effort. And so we put that on hold for a period of time. A couple of years have gone by. We worked through the pandemic, and if anything, we have probably 10 times as many e-bikes out in the field being used. They've become more popular than ever. So we're really, really pleased to circle back to this. In fact, we had an education and enforcement grant that finished up last year. And a component of that grant to satisfy all those obligations, we've actually created, in anticipation of these changes, we created an educational video as well as an educational handout that we've been sitting on, of course, until the code changes have been made. And so we're very excited to come into the current century and be acknowledging and recognizing these different items and allowing and providing for them. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Doug. So as Doug mentioned, really the sunsetting of the last E&E grant is what spurred the circling back and picking back up the provisions or the amendments to the code, excuse me. So in that grant, there was provisions for educational materials based around e-bike use in our park system. The state defines e-bikes as 3 classes, and they vary in the speeds, but what is notable is the class 2 e-bike is the one that's defined as one that can propel motion without pedaling. So it has a throttle that can be used without any pedaling. Class 1 and 2 are used with pedal assist, but they have different speeds. Sorry, excuse me, 1 and 3. Next slide. So we picked back up some of the research on other jurisdictions and how they utilize codes or other guidelines for e-bikes. There's varying degrees of these across our neighboring agencies, but the one that felt like it fit our system the best was Washington State Parks. They have a lot of conservation natural lands, and they have a policy in place which allows class 1 and 3 e-bikes on their natural surface trails and long distance trails, given that they're meeting all the other bike regulations and goals. Next slide. So this code amendment would add many definitions to the current park code. As Doug mentioned, it would identify all 3 classes of e-bikes. It would identify other motorized vehicles, e-motorcycles, wheelchairs, and then it would have a new section that was regulation on bicycles and electric assisted bicycles. And then within the amendment, we're suggesting that there's an update to the violation section, and I might have Jasper speak to this a little bit. We've worked with Jasper on what that will look like.
Yeah, so as Doug mentioned, the statewide code is lagging a bit behind the state of the art, so to speak, with all of the electric vehicles that are now on the roads and on the park trails. And so the Title 36, the park code section. Has that any violation of rules adopted by the Board of County Commissioners, except for traffic, are going to be considered guilty of a misdemeanor. As it relates to traffic, it refers to the motor vehicle code in the section which states that all offenses are going to be traffic infractions unless they're specifically limited and described in this section 4663. I don't know if it's called out there, but essentially all infractions relating to traffic are going to be civil infractions unless they're specifically called out to be a misdemeanor. And so because of that nuance in the code, we felt that it was a beneficial that we'd have authority to extend civil infractions for these motorized vehicle limits that we're putting into the county code. I'm happy to go through the motor vehicle code and describe kind of what would remain a misdemeanor. There's a lot of nuances. It's mostly those are related to permits to operate certain conditions of the vehicles that don't relate to a lot of what we're trying to do with electric motorcycles and bicycles.
Guys, I guess as I look at I guess I don't really see what's driving this. Because if you look at a class 2, I mean, 20 miles an hour, a class 3, which we allow can get up to 28 miles. Is speed the problem? Because the only thing that's differing here is whether you pedal or not. I would think speed would be the concern. You've got someone going at too fast of a rate, and I assume we're concerned about an accident, but pedaling versus not pedaling is really the only differentiation here between these classes. I guess I guess I'm missing what the point is.
Our research also suggests the class 2 tend to look more like a motorcycle. If you were to look at the very first slide, I think that's maybe more of a class 2. I could be wrong on that, but the class 2s are larger. And the 1s and the 3s are hard to differentiate from each other out in the field. So it would be very difficult to even tell the difference. In visiting with local bike shops, they sell almost exclusively the class 1s, but you look out there on the REI catalog, they have as many 3s as they do 1s. So it's that pedal assist. And then in terms of community education, by being similar to the guidelines that State Parks has in place, it helps people be less confused by having the same guidelines within state parks as in county parks, as quite frankly, a lot of folks don't realize when they're in a state park versus a county park. But if we can help educate them on the guidelines, that was supported by the mountain bike group that we visited with. They were very supportive of that consistency and helping to reduce the confusion.
Okay, but what's driving this request? I mean, is it just so people don't
Right
get
now,
confused when they're on
technically,
a state park?
our park code prohibits any motorized vehicles.
Okay,
So e-bikes in the strictest sense are prohibited
okay,
in our park system. And this will address that. This will allow us to provide guidelines for that and accommodate them. And with the infraction currently being a misdemeanor, that's so, I don't know, maybe excessive that it's just blatantly not enforced. And so this will accommodate the use. We've looked carefully, worked with the community closely. The feedback from the community is supportive of accommodating type 1 and type 3. And not accommodating the type 2 and the electric motorcycles, which we have a lot of damage in the community parks from electric motorcycles and some in the parks. So it's really the driver is right now, they're all prohibited. And
okay.
we have no ability to enforce that. And we feel that type 1 and 3 are in fact very compatible with our parks and are routinely in use.
Kyle.
Just a little extra context on that, just having a lot of these kids with them The difference between a class 2 and an electric motorcycle is a very blurry line. And I'd say the majority of what's out there fall into the latter category. And the problem with the throttles that the trail maintainers and things like that is they can burn out. So they can actually go that kind of acceleration and do a lot of damage to the trails of the park system, as opposed to on
Can't do that
on a
with
class 1.
Class 1 or a 3.
Not a chance.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's just they actually don't even accelerate all that fast unless, even if you're hammering on the pedals, the
So
motor
don't get one of
doesn't.
those if I'm trying to go up to South Hill.
No, you would, you just gotta build up your momentum like you know on any other thing. It's just, class 1s are fabulous. I highly recommend. But just that's a big differentiating factor is that throttle can give you that instant power, and there's a very fine line between what's a class 2 and what's an electric motorcycle, and those are far more common.
Okay.
Those go 55.
Yeah, thank you.
French.
I want to piggyback off a little bit about what Commissioner Kearns was trying to get to in terms of what's driving this. There are so many definitions of so many different types, and really isn't what we're trying to regulate the speed and the impact in our parks. And we get lost in this, whether it's an e-bike or it's a whatever the designation is. And the designation can change totally independent of us. So why don't we create a regulation that just deals with the speed and the character and let all the designations just go away?
I think in this case, we're leaning on state law that has defined the class 1, 2, and 3. So by leaning on the law, it provides a level of consistency, but through the educational materials, we're trying to simplify it as far as the message as much as possible.
So when somebody introduces a new product, we're going to wait for the state to go through its machinations before we have the opportunity to regulate it. Even though if we regulated the impact, it doesn't matter what the name change is, we still have a code that deals with the impact.
I think to some extent, we've tried to anticipate some changes. The definition of an e-bike, for example, is 2 or 3 wheels. Again, knowing that there's various devices out there. But it's possible we may have to come back and do updates when that, I don't know, the new hover bike comes out someday. Very true, very true.
Yeah.
We don't have to wait on the state. We can, I think there was just a handful of circumstances that delayed. We intended to come see you back in 2018. We started the process. But because of the lack of flexibility and being forced to lean on a misdemeanor, we took some additional time to try to make some changes. And with help from legal, we now have that civil option, which is much less severe than a misdemeanor. And I think a much more effective tool at actually having a level of enforcement in the field that we just would not have otherwise and currently do not have.
Just one other comment on the classes. Those class 1s and 3s are industry regulated, and they have requirements, even if they're imported internationally, for governors and the amount of power that they're allowed to drive. The industry has basically set that up. So all class 1s have a built-in governor on them, and they actually can't exceed those speeds.
But it sounds like speed isn't the concern. Just based on what I'm hearing.
It gets
Because
one
a
in the
class
trail.
3 goes faster than a class 2.
Yeah, we have speed limits of, I think, 15 miles per hour. So we hope that people comply with that, and one will go faster than that. It's just that power, as Kyle's, it is really where we're seeing a lot of damage out in the parks. Those e-motorcycles, class 2s, have that level of power that is in fact causing a lot of destruction out there. And it's hard to, we're effectively looking the other way on 1s and 3s, but we're looking the other, we just have no ability to enforce any of these, and we're really hopeful through these code amendments that we can now better educate and inform the community and start to enforce those items that, those vehicles that are causing damage in the parks and are not a good fit, and go 0 to 40 or 50 in 3 seconds. It's very impressive. They're great in our off-road vehicle park. We'd love to see them there. And we do see them there, but unfortunately, they're rolling into the neighborhood parks too and causing quite a bit of damage.
Do you have the technology to identify whether somebody's going 15 miles an hour or 18 miles an hour or 20?
Oh, I have great question. Yeah, it's a radar gun. I know there's what I've seen on certain trail systems, and we've talked about, I think it's a hope for the future, is similar to the towable speed enforcement signs that move around in the parks right now. And on near parks, you see them on the road. They have them on trail systems. I think I've been on the Apple Capitol Trail over Wenatchee. They have, I think, at least 2 of them. And they use that to, it'll measure the speed of the bicycles and people going by, and it'll tell them if they're going too fast, just like you see on the road with vehicles. So that's, that technology is out there. We don't have it right now in place, but I believe there's been a lot of discussion around going that direction, as that's been a very effective tool for other trail systems similar to ours. Similar to Centennial Trail, for example, where we see a heavy amount of bicycles.
So you're thinking about doing that as opposed to a series of gnomes on the trail that's got a gun? Radar gun.
Yeah, I don't know.
For clarification.
The automated speed signs are the most popular tool in certain areas. But yeah, I don't know that, I'm not aware of a portable speed gun that our ranger has and carries around in his toolbox. And I don't know how effective that would be relative to the larger issue of damage occurring within the community parks and the regional parks with the more powerful electric vehicles.
So the little slide you have about state guidelines says e-bike use is not allowed on hiking civic trails. Would we do something similar here?
We would have the authority to do that if we felt it wasn't a fit in a specific area. I want to say for the majority of our trails and conservation areas, they accommodate e-bike use. But there are certain areas, and I know, for example, where we've prohibited horseback riding because the steepness is just not safe.
Yeah.
And so the latitude is within the code if we find areas that may be more sensitive and don't hold up well to that. And I think the state has done that to some extent. They have certain areas where they don't allow them. The trail opening that we recently did, that's a sensitive area, and I noticed they don't allow them there. But for us, in most cases, we accommodate them.
So the code amendment that you're suggesting would allow the Parks Department to say this trail is off limits?
Yes.
On a case by case basis?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
In Fishman natural areas.
Yes,
Another
is a good example.
location where we don't allow bicycles.
Okay.
So that would stay consistent.
Thank you, that's great.
Next slide.
Yep.
So back to the grant materials that were written into the E&E proposal, there was a requirement for educational videos and educational brochure material, and that deadline was October of last year. So we developed 4 educational videos, one of which was around bicycle use in our natural areas and park system. And we've been holding on to that until we could get a code amendment ready for adjustment. So here is a quick video for you guys. See if the embedded video works here.
Nice. Yep. Not so nice.
No sense.
Their volume.
Seems to be jumping. Email a link.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, we can send out a link to this video if you'd like to view it in your own time, but essentially this gives best practices on our trails as they relate to all bicycles and has a small section that notes electric bicycles. There's Jonathan doing his cameo.
Jonathan made the video.
Where are the stars?
Okay, we can go back to the slideshow.
Now, can you hold up one second? Rob, can you run that back like 2 seconds? Just kind of drag it back. That. Is that an e-bike or is that a pedal assist one there behind the guy?
Those are actually by motorcycles.
Okay.
And the video language, I think, says something along the lines of if you've got the big guns, motorcycles, 4-wheels, visit our ORV park.
Okay.
It shows footage
Yeah,
of the
up at our
ORV park.
ORV park, or Liberty Lake ORV Park there in the background.
Okay.
Trying to let folks know we have a place for you and for this type of vehicle activity.
So what this looks like for regulation, this goes back to Josh and Al's questions, is sometimes it is challenging to differentiate between which class of bike is on the trail system. We intend to post what the allowable classes are at each location. And then our ranger, or if that changes to some, a deputy or some other enforcement, would be looking for people with excessive speeds on the trail systems. If there is a concern about what classes use, e-bike users are supposed to, by state law, have a class tag posted on their bike. And then it would really be about educating the public on safety of trail use with other users on the trail, yielding, and we would use these videos and the brochures to help get that message out across.
Guys, what, do we have regulations around like the off-road e-scooters? I mean, essentially they look like a Lime, but the Lime scooters, but they got bigger, beefier wheels with a bunch of tread. I mean, does that?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I think we did include a definition for e-scooters in here as well, and
I think there's one small reference to them. And we did, at the time we started in the public input process, we did not get into the e-scooters, and I think that's an item we need to circle back on. And felt that we would want to take more time to look at that as far as compatibility. But I think there's one small reference to it. We
had
pulled
considered
out.
it.
We had considered it and just felt that more time was needed.
Okay.
Before feeling that we could make a good recommendation to you on those.
Okay.
On that question, under the current code, are they technically not allowed parks? I assume.
They would, yeah, they would be an electric motorized
Okay.
vehicle. Yeah. We see them more on the Centennial Trail than in our the community parks. A lot of the kids, you see more of the smaller ones. You see a lot more of the more powerful ones on the Centennial Trail. We're not seeing a lot of those within our natural trail system. So again, that's a great catch, Commissioner, and we just felt wanted more time to really look at that before making some type of a recommendation on that.
And my question on the enforcement side, because that's what we're doing this. Yeah, we don't have radar detectors out there, all of that. So is it citizens that are calling in? Are we seeing damage? And then we're like trying to figure out how that occurred.
We're seeing a lot of damage. You can, like right now, if you were to visit Prairie View Park, you can see a lot of damage. You can tell by the tread exactly what it is. There's a group of 3 kids that really enjoy frequently and jumping, and we have new grass seed that we're trying to get from some repairs done last year. And that's just one example. We're seeing that throughout the park system. In a lot of different parks as these become more common, and we have no tools to communicate right now what's allowed and what's not allowed. So we would work to get that out. The Julia mentioned, I think from the speed standpoint, it would be more excessive speed that could be recognized. We do receive some calls and some feedback, certainly from the community. Most of the riders are pretty thoughtful out there as far as yielding to hikers and to horseback riders. We have some signs, I think for the one there at the
No, but if as we pass this and you find a violator, how are you really finding the violators? Just because it seems like damage happens and then they're
I think it would be the park ranger in the field would need to catch them
in the act.
in the act
Okay.
effectively. Yes. And
Or a citizen could call, at a trailhead, they're seeing the motorcycle offloaded off of a truck and make a call.
we would likely either our staff would see damage in the field to get a feel for where the activity is happening. We do receive calls, emails, and we would try to send the ranger out to effectively catch them.
And one other thing I'd mention is we have a partner agency, Evergreen Bike Alliance, who's out on our trail systems very frequently. They help us do trail maintenance and trail builds, and they are very in tune with the activity that's happening in the field. So they are someone that can communicate to us where there's damage occurring or where there's activity occurring that we may need to.
Thank you.
Okay, next slide. So in December, we hosted our Parks Advisory Committee and we gave them a very similar presentation and asked for their support in pursuing an amendment to include an e-bike policy. The vote was unanimously in favor of doing so. So that is why we're here today. We also just requested some additional public input. Like I mentioned, Evergreen Bike Alliance, one of our partners, has indicated to us a couple different times a desire for their group, their users, to just know what the regulations and rules are so that they follow them and they can help. Bye. So the next steps here would be with your support, this would come to next week's legislative session to authorize a public hearing. That public hearing is tentatively set for April 7th. So following an approval next, if it's approved next Tuesday, then we would set that meeting for April 7th and start noticing.
Okay, I think April 7th, we are off as commissioners.
Okay.
Set out, yeah.
Push it out.
I don't know.
Make that adjustment.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Change the notice or not.
Yeah, we can change the notice, yeah, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Lots of work. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chief. How are you?
We are here with two contracts for your approval, one for Pioneer Human Services as well as a housing contract for Benton County Corrections. So Jason's going to present open here along with Lieutenant Jason Robinson and Mr. McCorkle from the Civil Departments. Jason's going to present on Pioneer.
So most of you are aware of such contracts, Pioneer, because I presented on it before. And we just talked about it during the budget season. It's probably fresh in everyone's mind, but it's a yearly contract we have with Pioneer to provide substance use disorder. So it's two components of that is the counseling portion, which is the 12 to 16 week intensive 3 times a week, 3 hours during each one of those sessions. And then also to provide referrals to your assessment program. So the referrals are evaluate the enrollment of the client in the future substance use disorder needs. So they have an assessment process for that. The contract amount for this one is
Next slide, Ron.
sorry. It's $210,000. It's about $6,000 more than last year. And I have some basic stats up there. Sorry, that might be too brief, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Question about that.
But so my only question, so between, how does this work with, because we have our own internal mental health providers?
We do.
So
So this is drug treatment, so it's a different component than a mental health professional.
okay, thank you.
They do have some overlap, but ours is specifically related to the drug use, the opioid use.
And then with the new medical providers, just because they're doing substance.
Basically more critical care while they're in custody. Yeah, so
More like detox, coming straight in from the door. This is more of a long-term approach to rhythm of the drug use behavior. So that's why it takes 12 to 16 weeks. It's a long process.
So this is primarily out of Geiger.
Yes, it's really on the Geiger.
Geiger is the only place that has the capacity, there's to do the classes and so forth, and this is, for longer, those with longer stays, longer term care, trying to help, not only address the physical needs that goes along with some of the different MAT programs and those processes, but also then the counseling side of the drug programs that part of the longer term prevention, try to set them up for success when they leave.
It's the target population that we try to work with right before they get housing, any barriers that they might have so that they're successful. So we really work with this population, including our breaking barriers population and our sentence population. They're the targeted population that we work with to try to work with those barriers for long-term success.
Thank you. Just want to make sure with the new contracts and just everything going on. But
at medical, at any one time, we have full-time detox 4 times a day. And we have about 50 to 75 people going through detox, alcohol and drug detox every day. Anything else on the Pioneer contract?
Well, I was just gonna ask one last, so when somebody is released, then what does Pioneer to do to get them set up with ongoing treatment if needed in the community?
They have their own resources, so they start with their own resources. We've been developing as we've reorganized with these budget issues, we've kind of reassessed what our priorities are. We've established our own reentry resource center that will working on expanding. We're actually making really good strides on our own level at this point, where it's early in. We have set up our own resource center at Geiger for as many inmates as possible we can run through. So this model that we're developing right here could potentially enhance or even overcome what Pioneer's level of paper services. So it's still experimental right now, but we've had pretty good success with in-house developing or taking our own case managers and looking. So the resources are constantly shifting. Somebody has to stay on them pretty consistently. Housing is our
Right, like sober housing, I think is the challenge, right?
That's the challenge. That's what comes up chronically. And you guys know that housing component is huge for these long-term successes. Because if you skip that one or you miss that one, all your other efforts typically fail. So to indirectly answer, Pioneer is helping with that, but we're actually starting to eclipse that with our own efforts because we can make it more broader instead of specific to just how people. That makes sense.
And then the next, and I don't know if we have slides or if the contract's on there, but it's a contract we're gonna use for Benton County Corrections. We expect to not use it very often, but it's basically so we can send either a high-risk prisoner or somebody with any other conflict down there, and they can do the same if they ever needed to. I don't expect to use it very much, but we have one out there, so. So I think $117 or $18 a day, actually, so it's a pretty good deal for us too, so. Either we'll be responsible for like medical needs or anything else if they have any. We don't expect that. So.
Okay.
Any questions about that? Okay. Well, thank you very much.
If we did a high risk transfer to Benton and we paid the contract rate, how does that line up with our in-house rate?
In our house, significantly cheaper. I think we're for a non-contract agency, we're in mid 200s, about $250. So.
That doesn't include transport.
Does not include transport. So we're in charge of, we're taking care of their medical needs. They didn't want anything to do with that. And we're in charge of his medical needs or anybody's medical needs as well as any transport costs. So we'd have to factor. So probably closer to what we would charge the US Marshals or DOC. Thank you.
It's been miscellaneous is.
I've been texting with them. I will do the quick update. He's see. I'll do the public right now, but just FYI, Senator Cantwell's portal closes this coming weekend, Sunday at midnight. Senator Murray has until the 25th. And so we do plan on getting in the Argonne Road Centennial Trail intersection with Howard. And we're going to be focusing on the economic development around how that will be helping the community. Right now, the bike ped projects aren't scoring super high. So we are going to be framing it as a phase of the bigger project there and how it will help economic development in the region being such a busy corridor. And then we will be getting the second gate out Thorpe Road project to Congressman Baumgartner's office. Ron's going to gather info with Argonne being in his district, his boss's district. And so we'll get those in this week. He might be calling on some of you to help if we need an introduction to a particular letter of support, although usually we have those covered. We call you on those, we appreciate the help.
Yeah, because I would think you'd want City of Millwood to be done.
City of Millwood, Thinking Valley Chamber. Going more on that economic development side. We have some good letters from the state's request for the Thorpe Road. We might just be looking for some of those people just to change the 2 and the date. But we have some good letters out there from SCR3, from a high-ranking person on base, don't remember the name right now, but I think there were 5 of them we submitted. So those ones are pretty much done, just need to update them. With the appropriate 2 and new dates. Those should all be submitted this week, and then it'll be, a couple months before we hear.
Wildlife, right?
Yeah, I reached out to Carly Courtwright, she's with STA, but she's a member of the Lilac Festival. She said, yeah, they would love to have a county commissioner there, so it's May 16th in the evening. I think you just gotta let them know if you'll be there. But they said they would love to have us.
Okay, if I can't,
part.
then, yeah,
Sure.
talk,
Alright.
I'm in
It's
town.
a Saturday, so, yep, I think, right?
And then do we provide our own,
Saturday.
Yeah.
provide our own cards, there's a,
They do.
I think there's an option. If you have one, they let you. If you don't, you say, provide me with one and they'll. So. Tank. If you know a tank guy, Military parade. Jeff will make a call. He'll get you a tank.
have them provide a car, and that way if we need to switch, we can figure it out. Okay. So the COG, so as you guys know from last week, thanks Josh for talking about setting the date with
Yeah,
my email.
April
so
1st.
Appreciate that. So yes, we have April 1st, 8:30, doors are gonna open. It's gonna be 9 to 11 at the Center Place. The fairgrounds was not available, and the city of Spokane Valley is offering to host, so that's good. So a save the date is gonna be going out. We don't have this agenda set yet. It's primarily gonna be Safe and Healthy Task Force, kind of updating everyone on where we're at there. Which we need to get numbers, financial numbers for that. But what's gonna be attached to this is from the Safe and Healthy Task Force, they're gonna do tours on March 31st. So you will see that on the save the date, just an attachment that if anyone wants to take a tour of our Geiger, they're doing Geiger downtown jail and the stabilization center. So for people that haven't already seen it, to again, continue getting people to see where we're at. And so those are being scheduled for March 31st, not through us, through, I think, I think through GSI, through the Safety and Healthy Task Force. So, but I did okay that we could just attach that to the agenda so that if people want to do that, they can.
Did you say 9 to 11?
9 to 11. Doors open at 8:30.
I will not be there. I'll be traveling that day.
Okay. So, and as we get closer, I'll bring the agenda forward to approve before the agenda actually officially comes out.
I do have a miscellaneous too. But
Okay, so anything else on that? All right. Mr. French, thank you.
So I just got this yesterday from Mr. Velasquez. It's what he's going to be presenting tomorrow night at the PFAS Task Force with regard to the public system and how it will be integrated with the navigator process. So just wanted to, since this will be out in the public, I wanted to make sure that you were aware of it. If you have any issues or concerns, let us know. And like I said, this is, we got this from Dr. Velasquez just yesterday, so sorry for not giving you more notice on it, but it's a moving target. And our next task force meeting is tomorrow night.
Did they end up, did the health district end up finding 2 navigators?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
What I understand, they're both hired and gone through training. The one thing that we continue to struggle with is Commerce has not signed a contract yet. And so we are reaching out to them through a number of different venues to say, sign the contract. We suspect that it's because they do not have a Secretary of Commerce And the governor's still looking for somebody. But, you know, at this pace, the clock is ticking. And so, we're 9 months after they did the allocation and we still don't have a contract. So this is going to become more and more of an issue for us.
Just Commissioner, one thing that is part of the work plan for the short-term interim action plan is a lot of information that we need to gather. So even in the plan, we're putting together the questionnaire that we need to better understand the needs of the citizens in our 30 square mile area there. So that will be something we'll need to work with the navigators with as they're collecting some of the health information. We also just need some raw info about the homes, their water system, their usage and things like
Yeah, originally, the doctor wanted to do this as a press release. And I encouraged him not to do that because I wanted it to be more of a coordinated effort with the county and whoever else. So now it's just a update for the task force for tomorrow night. So I do not know whether the media will be there tomorrow night or not. It's an open invitation to anybody in the public. For the most part, they haven't been there, but every now and then one manages to get in the room. So, don't know.
Oh, on the commerce. So the contract for the funds for the installation of the filtration systems. So we have all of our stuff in and we're just waiting for them to approve the contract.
Signs the paper. Good.
My question is around coordination. Have we worked with Ecology on this at all? Have they seen this?
Ecology is part of the task force. Brooke Beeler will be there tomorrow night. She knows that we're working on this and that we'll be bringing it forward. Does she know the exact detail that the doctor is proposing? She'll find out tomorrow night, just like I found out yesterday. But all of this is in line with what we've been talking about. So there's nothing that's new. There's no new news.
The media coverage that we received in the past week primarily focused on the pedestrian safety project at the intersection near Meade High School, and that news release came out of the offices of Commissioners Jordan and Kearns, received a lot of positive coverage. Not only how the county is responding, but also the collaborative effort that resulted. So that was some very, very positive coverage that we received. Commissioners, you also now have 2 proclamations to be presented the afternoon of March 31st, one for National Public Health Week and the other one for the 144th birthday of Eastern Washington University. So both of those have been approved by the chair. That's pretty much it.
Just due to timing, we need both those to go that day.
Yes.
The days, yes.
The actual celebratory days are.
It's weird
after
when
the
we're
31st.
passing it after, Public Health Week.
Yes.
No, this is-
We've done it before.
Yeah, no.
In the
we have in the
past,
past,
we've
yes.
adopted them after the fact, and it doesn't quite have the same pow.
Yeah.
It's just for those that survive.
Congratulations, the last week. We celebrated
Yeah.
Public Health Week.
I pointed that out to them and they said, oh, no, that's okay. Really? Well. So any questions for the communications office?
Real quick on the crosswalk. Just want to thank Commissioner Kearns for working on that, Kyle's team, Matt and Martha Lou. That was, I heard indirectly through that media process, and there was some coverage of it that the victim's family was very happy to see the improvement. So that was wonderful to see that.
Yes, very much so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Gotcha. Or do you want to cover also the groundbreaking for the reconstruction?
Yes, the groundbreaking for the PATH Center, as you know, is on April 2nd, so it's going to be the day after the COG. I sent out the save the date. Right now, we have approximately 30 who are going to be coming. Considering these are the last days of the state legislative session, it's not surprising that the Eastern Washington delegation has not responded yet. So I'm going to be sending out this save the date again tomorrow as a reminder.
Okay, discuss this kind of moving up and all of that is.
Yes, you and I will talk about that.
Perfect. Now it's up to you.
Madam Chair, we're easing in with 5 executive session items today.
You missed.
I don't have that one on my list. They're all pending in potential litigation. The first one, 10 minutes, no action. Jeff McMorris, Matt Folsom, Devin Curda, Vicky Dalton, Tim Donovan, Ashley Cloud, Tessa Sheldon. Second one, 20 minutes, again, no action. Jeff McMorris, Devin Curda, Matt Folsom, Kyle Tuitt, Jim Amacio. The third, Jeff McMorris, Matt Folsom, Devin Curda, Mike Sparber, no action. Fourth, 5 minutes, Jeff McMorris, Matt Folsom, Devin Curda. Fifth one, no action, Jeff McMorris, Matt Folsom, Devin Curda. For a total of 65 minutes. We also have another one this afternoon for about 30.
And I've got one, it's basically an update, and so shouldn't take more than 10, 15 minutes at the very most.
Say 10.
And no action.
Say 10 minutes.
Is it this?
What's that? What's that abbreviation?
A really long one?
Not sure, but
Tell you later.
his is,
Okay.
his is on separate, but
Okay.
One quick thing, Commissioner French, Heather was listening in for PFAS. She said we just got the contract in hand.
Oh, good.
Reviewing with legal, they revised the statement of work and it's ready to go back to Commerce for finalization.
Okay,
So it's processes started.
good. Okay.
Move to that.
okay, so it is 10:35. We're gonna go into executive session for approximately an hour and 15 minutes. No action anticipated, so we will adjourn for the morning once we are done with that executive session. We'll see everybody back for our 2 o'clock. Thank you all.
On mine, regional water reclamation facility.